All right, welcome back. So in this video, the model is done, and the next thing that I'm going to show you how to do is add colors and materials just for like cosmetic purposes. And then I'm also going to show you how to make an exploded view, which is super useful. It's used in engineering all the time to show like it literally shows like the parts being pulled apart, kind of like a bomb, and then like explodes and then comes back together. So you could see all like the inner workings of whatever you're building, and you could show that off in a video or like a drawing, so they're used all the time. And then I'm going to show you how to use another software that's all in the SolidWorks Studio called Visualize to make like a rendered version of that animation. So first off, let's go over materials because we haven't done that yet. Um, if you click this here, there's a whole library of materials. So depending on what you're building, it could be plastic, metal, rubber, glass, and they've got all these different like material qualities. Like these like will appear a bit translucent in your 3D modeling space. Stone, miscellaneous. There's tons you can pick from. But the way that you change it is you can change like a whole component, and you could also change like just a face or one particular part. But for now, my dragon's going to be all one color. So I'm just going to click, go to solid bodies, the solid bodies folder, and highlight all of them. I'm holding shift and then just click the first one, hold shift, click the last one. And then I'm going to go to appearances. And like I said before, there's all these different materials that affect like the translucency and like how rough the materials look. If you don't care about that, you can just change the color. But I know mine's gonna be like painted. Like we're gonna 3D print this and then paint it, right? So I'm gonna go to painted. Okay, so there's this cool black spray paint. I'm gonna apply this, and then so this already has. If you go to illumination, this was what I was talking about, like how much the light is it's like how the light interacts with whatever material you choose. So you can mess with this to see how it looks in the model space, and then you have like surface finish, mapping. I don't really play with this. But most of the time I'm just staying in basic, and then I'm just gonna change the color to this light purple because I think that's what I'm gonna paint him. But yeah, you could also change like if you wanted to make like the horns a different color or something like that. You could do that. Like you could make this black. Whoops. You could uh, make just this part black if you wanted. I'm gonna leave mine all one color, but that's totally up to you about what you want to do. So I've showed you how to apply material in SolidWorks and get some color on there. The next thing that we're going to work on is so we have a master file with multiple bodies of all the parts we designed, right? So now what I want to do with that one, and our master is like in one part component file. I want to take all of those bodies and then put them in an assembly file and have each separate body be its own part. So that might be like kind of annoying otherwise. Like I think I showed you how to export parts in the when I showed you how to like move the gears and like mate them together. But that way kind of stinks because if you make a change, it might break or mess up how things work. I'm going to show you a better way to do that. Um, so what you do is, first off, I want to make sure you guys uh, change the name of the stepper gear, wing left, and wing right. Because if it matches those parts that we did for the simulation, it's going to get an error. So I threw a 2 on the end just to make sure that the files aren't the same. But what you want to do is go to Insert, Features at the top here, and then go to Save Bodies. Okay, so now we're going to create an assembly of all our bodies, right? So you're just choosing where to save your assembly. So I'll choose it. I'll pick it in the same rev folder as like my other parts. I'll just name it Spike Assembly. From here, I just pick auto assign titles, and if you name all your parts properly, like I have been doing and telling you guys to do, it'll just like take those names, which is pretty cool. And then if you pick propagate visual properties, it'll take the appearance and material of whatever you chose in here, which is what we want. And then this checkbox, derive resulting parts from similar bodies or cut lists. That just means like if you have one part that's like the same in your design and you like copied it all around, SolidWorks will recognize that it's the same part and it will make one part and have it be multiple iterations in the assembly file instead of them all being their own part, even though it's the same exact part. But we don't have that, but for your own designs, it may be useful. And then you just click check. And it's just going to take a second because it's taking all of those bodies and saving them as individual parts and then putting those parts in an assembly file. Okay. And notice here now we have a feature called Save Bodies. So if we ever want to make a change to any of this, since Save Bodies is at the end, it'll auto update and update our other parts. But if you want to make future changes, or add bodies or whatever, make sure this is still at the end. And if you add additional parts or bodies, you have to add that body back into this Save Bodies feature. So I'm just going to Control S, save that. And then it has automatically opened this new assembly file with where all of my separate bodies are separate parts, which is awesome. And it's put in an assembly file for me and everything is fixed. So if you wanted to move something, you would have to right click it. I can tell it's fixed because there's that little F in parentheses. If you right click it and press float, then you're free to move the part wherever you want. But I don't want to do that right now. What I am going to show you guys how to do next is how to make an exploded view. So what I talked about before was like those parts coming back together. You could see the inner workings of how it works, right? So in the assembly, we're going to go over, we're going to click the exploded view button. And this is a little confusing at first, but just think of it literally like you're telling the software in steps, like what to pull apart. Like first the head comes out and then the wings separate. And like it's a little weird, but I'll show you guys. So there's two types of ways that things can be pulled apart. So this first one is regular steps. So it's just like translate or rotate. So I'm just going to pull the head up just like that. And then I'll press finish step. So it's the first step. And then how about I do this guy? Or maybe in this step, we could also do this. Oh, whoops. Okay, so now we're gonna do. Okay, so exploded view. Take this guy, drag him up. That's just like a linear bring it out sort of deal, and then we press done. And then next I'm gonna bring the wings out. So I'm gonna click this wing, and then I'm gonna do this, which is radial. So it's like bringing it out from the center instead of like dragging it a certain distance. So I'll bring these guys out just like that. I'll hit done. Don't hit the check. Hit done because you're completing a step. And then I'll select the jaw. And I'll just drag this out. And then how about the feet? Can we do this radially? Yeah, that looks kind of cool. Done. And then how about the back and the front separate radially from each other? Like that, like they kind of pull apart. Done. And then maybe just these two maybe can... I'll just pull this gear up. How about that? But I'll just pull this gear up like that. Okay, so now we finished that, and now our model looks all messed up. So if we go to the configuration manager in the top left here, expand this, and then right click here, you could animate the collapse, and you could see it like all come together, which is pretty cool. And then you could also animate explode. And then animate collapse again. Pretty cool. Okay, so now we have an exploded view. Now I'm going to show you how to like make an animation out of the exploded view. So we're going to hit motion study, and then here's what we're going to do. So if you've ever animated anything before, this is like a timeline with keyframes. And basically all that means is like a keyframe is just like a point in time where it like records the position of something. So like right now it's record positions all at the beginning. If I move over here and then like the head moves up, then it would make a keyframe here and record where the end position of the head is. You'll understand more in a second. But to start, how about um, let's make sure that this is saved, access motion study. This is going to save data for like our keyframes and our animation for when we go to render this thing. So make sure this little camera button is checked. And then we're going to start by hitting the animation wizard. So because we've already made an exploded view, it's given the option to just explode. So we're going to click that. And then I'm going to make mine 3 seconds long, and it's going to start at 0 seconds. So it's automatically done all the work for us, and it's like shown the whole thing and exploding in 3 seconds, right? So then I want to do a little bit of a pause. So how about a second break, and then it's going to collapse back. So 0 to 3 seconds is exploding. 3 to 4 seconds, it's staying the same, so nothing's happening. And then 4 to 7 seconds, or 4 to 6 seconds maybe, it'll collapse back together. So now we have to add a collapse. So go back into the animation wizard, go to collapse, next. And then I want the collapse to be a little bit faster than the explode. The explode was 3 seconds. Let's make this one 2 seconds. And it's going to start at 4 seconds. So we hit finish. So now if we drag our little timer to the beginning of the timeline and press play, we can watch it explode, stops for a second, and then comes back together, which is pretty cool. Like pretty quickly we've made like a pretty interesting animation, which is awesome. So now one thing that we're going to do is like our camera is just looking at it from like a certain angle, but you can also animate the position of the camera. So make sure that this is selected, auto key, that basically just like puts a keyframe down anytime you move something. Okay, so then you're going to right click orientation and camera views and click disable view key creations. I don't know why that's on by default. Maybe it would be annoying if you keep moving around. Yeah, that is kind of annoying. Okay, so make sure that the time ticker, whatever you want to call it, is set to the beginning, and just like get a good view of wherever you want to start your animation, right? So we'll do that. And then we're going to come to the end and then drag to wherever you want to end my animation. I'm just going to do like there. Like it's going to be a little less than like 160 degrees. And then if you did it like that, it takes the keyframe from where you started and then puts a keyframe at where you ended and sort of like interpolates in between and tries to fill in the gap. So it goes from the start position all the way to the end position. Okay. So I like that animation. I'm gonna hit Control S. So if you're sort of good with how that looks, if you wanted to export it, you could just click Animation Wizard, you click Save Animation, and then you would just pick where to save it. There's a couple file options. I'd probably save it as a AVI or MP4. There should probably be like 30 FPS frames per second. 7.5 is not that smooth. But I say we take it a step further and make it look really nice by rendering it. So what rendering means is you basically put in like a software that applies all these different lightings and materials, and it makes whatever your animation is or your images look very, very nice. I'm not sure all the technicals about how it works, but SolidWorks has like a built-in package to like render and make cool like product shots of your models. So the way that you go to that is, so in your normal, like if you were to open SolidWorks, you would go to here, hit the play button, and then press 3D experience connected. I'm not sure if this is here by default, but it's called SolidWorks Visualize Connected. If it's not there, hit the play button and then scroll down through My Apps, and SolidWorks Visualize Connected should be at the bottom. So we're going to click this. Chances are you've never opened this before. While that's opening, we're just going to hop back to here. Once again, make sure this is selected, Access Motion Study, and then hit Control S. Just save it again. Basically, that's going to save all the like animation keyframes that we made, so we can import this project over to Visualize, and it'll like take everything that we just did here. Cancel on that. I was messing around before. We're going to go to File, New, and create a new project. And then we're going to go to File, Import. Whoops. Sorry, wrong one. File, Import from this PC. And you're going to navigate to wherever you saved your new assembly file. So for me, it was in my Rev4 folder. Filter by date modified. It'll be at the top. And just make sure everything is checked. So here it's saying add motion study mark, which is that button I was telling you to add. And if everything's checked, we should press OK, and then even our keyframe should show up. Cool. Okay, so a couple things that you won't have toggled by default. So when I started this up, I didn't have timeline shown. So you're going to go to View and then Show Timeline so we can see all our keyframes. And then also, another thing that was annoying was I clicked toggle render modes. Like when I opened it, it started like this, which is like kind of like a SolidWorks type of view. But what you want is we want to like have a preview of what the render is going to look like. It's going to slow down your computer a little bit, but it'll give us like a better understanding of what's going on. So just click View Toggle Render Modes, and we're going to hit Control S, and actually File. Oh, don't hit Control S. Go to File, Save to this PC. I don't want to save it on this cloud. And then let's save it to the same place. Maybe we'll make a folder like render. Spike render. Okay, so a couple of things to do here. So right now, it doesn't look that great. It looks better than before, but we can make it look even better. So there's a couple buttons here at the top. If you click this middle one and we scroll down to back plates, one of these should be like checked with this little green mark on the bottom. Make sure you unselect this. So now what we can do is if you go to this one, File Libraries, and then at the top, you filter to Environments. Now we can change the background to whatever we want. So let's see. What if we'll just play with this around? That one looks pretty cool, I guess. You can play with it, pick whichever one you'd like. All right, how does this one look? So I'll drag my timeline to the beginning. Maybe it doesn't like render modes. It's definitely not that one. Kind of like this one. You get like a little shadow on the bottom. Spike looks stupid right now. And then what else do we want to do? Oh, and then you got to go to camera and then make sure that so it imports your keyframes, which is great, but for whatever reason, the camera that we animated when we like swung from the left front side to the right front side isn't checked by default. So make sure you go to the camera and then double click this and make sure then this will get checked. And then what happens if we play it now? Well, it's a little laggy. That's probably why it's toggle render modes. All right, we know that we like this, so I'm just going to disable it for now to save some resources. Okay, so for whatever reason, my animated camera got messed up. I don't know what the heck I did. So I'm just going to show you how to make a new one in here so we know that it looks good. So I'm going to left click this one, SolidWorks viewport, Control C, Control V. So now we have a new one to work with. I'm just going to left click it. So now I'm going to drag my marker to the beginning of the timeline, and then I'm going to right click this and click add keyframe. Now I'm going to go to the end of my timeline and then just drag to the new position that I want to be in. So let's orient the camera here. Oops. That looks pretty good. I think I'm too zoomed in. What about this? I'm holding like middle mouse button and control and shift to like move around here. I think we gotta move a little to the left. I'm getting Spike's head cut off at the top here. Okay, so what? That means I have to move down a little bit here. What if I just zoom out a little bit at the end? I think I am creating a bunch of keyframes by accident. You know what? Here I'm gonna start a little zoomed out as well, so I get a really good view of everything. I don't know what the difference. I think the yellow one is the camera. I'm not sure what the difference is. Okay, I like how that looks. So let me just. I'm gonna hit save on that. No, that's not what I want to do. Save to this PC. I'll just save over this again. Okay, cool. So now let me go to view. I just want to make sure that I like how this looks in the beginning and how it looks at the end. Yeah, that looks pretty good, I think. Okay, so this looks pretty good. And I don't know if you know anything about photography, you guys probably know more than me. I don't really know that much, but you can add like certain lighting and like really mess with it to make it look like insane, like actual product photography. I just know like some of the basics, but if you go to the middle button here called scenes and then you scroll down below the scenes and stuff and the environments that we choose before, you can add lights. So I'm going to do a new light and just match current camera. And already that looks pretty good. I think it's a little too bright for me though. Let's see. Can we do turn down the brightness a bit, maybe? How's that? I mean, that looks better than before, I feel like. Can I hide it just to see? I'll delete it just and then control Z. Yeah, that looks way better. Okay, so even if you just add a light that follows the camera, like that looks really good. Okay, so once you're, I'm just going to do a save to this PC, save over my file again. Once you're happy with how your final render looks and like all the setup for it, we're going to click this guy and then this is like output, so we're going to go to render now and then animation, and then we're going to click create movie. So for create movie, you want it to be an MP4. If you wanted to, basically it'll generate like 30 frames per second of whatever you want to do, and then it'll like render every actual frame if you want it all like the still images, but I want create movie. MP4 is good. 30 frames per second is good. If you want it to be even smoother, you can do that as well. Although it'll take even more time. Render options. Oh, okay. So make sure your cursor is on the last frame, and then we go to this output here. Spike render. We want to create a movie. And yeah, so now it's covering all the frames we want. You can mess with this and play with the settings, but I'm just going to click start animation render. So this should take a bit just because it's going to try and render literally every frame. But yeah, we could take a break and then come back and see what it looks like. All right, so my video was done exporting. It looks like I also did frames by accident. Whoops. But it looks really good. So now we have a quick video to show off how Spike comes apart and closes. See you in the next part.